What's going on, everybody? Welcome to After Prison Show, and in this video we're going to be talking about prison art. Before we get started though, I do want to give a very special shout out to Victoria Dresner, who sent me this awesome shirt that she made, as well as a few other ones. A little After Prison Show meets that 70s show type of thing here. I really like it a lot though. There's a lot of awesome things that we're going to talk about in this video in relation to prison art. So without further ado, what do you say we just go ahead and dive head first into this video. Oh my God, I'm dizzy.
You're dizzy?
Yeah, I was spinning around in the chair. Not doing that again. You know, when you think about prison art, what comes to mind? Tattooing, maybe pictures that are drawn on the outside of envelopes and sent to people's loved ones, maybe portraits that guys draw while locked up, maybe naked women, prison art, naked picture porn. Sounds like a pretty good business idea, actually. Hey, Cody, write that down. We're going to start a business called Prison Art Naked Picture Porn. I think that's how I said it. But there is so much more that guys are creating from behind bars, and a lot of this art that is created from these jails and prisons, it really does tell a story. And in this video, I'm going to showcase some of this art in particular, because not only is it really good artwork, there also is a story behind it as well. And there is one other point that I want to bring up with all of this, and that is, what's more likely to grab your attention? A headline or an image? And if you ask me, I personally believe it's an image. Whether it's a photograph or whether it's a drawing or a painting or something like that, I truly believe that an image is more likely to grab someone's attention than just a headline. And if you think about that in more relative terms, think about YouTube, where when people upload videos, they title these videos and they also have a thumbnail. Well, what's more likely to get your attention? Is it going to be the title of that video? No matter whether or not they clickbait it, no matter what it is, it could say the most extravagant thing right there in the title bar. It's going to take whatever thumbnail that accompanies that title, no matter what that title is, that's going to make you want to click on that video. But again, that's just my own personal opinion of that situation. And I mention this because of the fact that prisoners can use these images, these things that they create, no matter what it is, this artwork, this visual thing that you're going to be looking at, to not only tell a story, but to also grab your attention by the balls. I mean, so to speak, not literally grabbing you by the balls, though that may happen while you are locked up. I'm sorry. I just had a really bad flashback right there. Siri, no! Stop! No means no, motherfucker. This first prison art that I want to show you is kind of like personal to me. And it's because it's created by a guy by the name of Matt Matteo. Matt Matteo is a prisoner up in the state of Pennsylvania who is serving life. I can't exactly remember what he's serving this life sentence for, but this guy is a phenomenal artist. And the reason this individual and his art is so personal to me is because of the fact that while I was incarcerated this last time, serving these 7 years, right at the beginning of my incarceration, when I was going through this very dark, depressing time, where I didn't even know how I was going to get through this time, and then there was this book that was basically just dropped in my lap while I was in isolation by the name of Chicken Soup for the Prisoner's Soul. But it was this book, Chicken Soup for the Prisoner's Soul, that basically helped give me the motivation to really find a direction for just how I was going to get through the time that I had to serve. And I have to say this, it wasn't so much because of the stories in this book, it was actually completely due to the art that was in this book. And the art that was in this book was a lot of cartoons that were created by this guy, Matt Matteo. And it was me seeing these cartoons created by this guy that actually made me start to think, you know, with all of this time that I have to serve myself, maybe I could start creating cartoons and actually start showcasing through art, through images, just what it's like being locked up. And I actually began to correspond with this guy, Matt Matteo. We were actually writing letters to each other, and he was actually mentoring me on just how I should go about creating cartoons if that was something that I wanted to take serious while I was locked up. And not only is Matt Matteo a cartoonist, but he's also an overall artist, drawing other pictures, doing paintings, and some of the other work that he's created. I mean, it really gives you an idea of what it's like to be locked up. Take, for example, this picture right here that looks like it was drawn, just showing you what the inside of his cell looks like and how the wall is kind of busted out right there in the back. And you can see like a palm tree, and it almost looks to represent what life would be like outside of his cell, outside of a prison environment, back in the free world. But just looking at this picture, I mean, it almost can give you like an idea of the mind state of what an individual goes through when they're spending so much time locked up. And this guy in particular, Matt Matteo, who never again is going to see the free world. The next prison art that I want to show you, maybe you have seen this, maybe you haven't. I remember seeing this a while back and I completely forgot about it, but it most certainly fits in with this video about prison art that tells a story. And in fact, what this is just something I consider like so fucking awesome. There was this Hispanic dude right here from Mexico who ended up serving 11 months for fraud charges in some sort of a Mexican prison. First of all, I can only imagine what time must be like serving time somewhere like in Mexico. I think about Prison Break season 2 when they got locked up down in South America. I imagine those prisons are truly like hell on earth. But after this guy served these 11 months for these fraud charges, he actually went home and started an online store called prisonart.com. And what he sells on this website, as you can probably imagine by prisonart.com, is art that is created by prisoners. But it's not just any old art that he's selling. In fact, what they specialize is creating these leather pieces, whether they're wallets, purses, belts, jackets. And on these leather items that they are selling, they actually have prisoners who are tattooing pictures on these items. And I feel all of this in general just tells an amazing story in relation to people in prison and the art that they're creating. And I think the main undertone of all of it is that no matter what, no matter where you are, you can still strive to be doing something to better yourself and to potentially make a better future for yourself at the same time. And it's through this website, prisonart.com, that's giving guys who are locked up the opportunity to do just that, to potentially etch out a better future for themselves. This company hires guys who are in prison where tattooing is illegal, and this is only available in like 6 prisons right now. But these guys are actually able to tattoo while in prison, a major no-no while locked up. But they're able to use this tattooing as a legitimate job and something that is actually really positive. And I believe I read that this company employs something like 240 prisoners right now at 6 different facilities and is paying these guys $400 US currency at that per month to create these pieces on leather that are then turned into these items that they're selling. Again, whether that's purses, wallets, belts, jackets. I mean, this company really must be making a killing. And if they are, I have to throw this in there as well. This is a non-profit organization, and profits raised from this company go to helping families of those who are locked up, pays for education for those that are locked up, and also helps with the families of those who are locked up's day-to-day livelihood as well. And prisoners who take part in this program, in this job, whatever you want to call it, there's stipulations to this as well. Yes, they are paid $400 a month, but the stipulations are that they must give half of that money to their family or relatives, and that they must stay off drugs and also be in a detox program. This is a hell of a company right here, and this really gets my wheels turning thinking about what could After Prison Show do something like this that could help those who are locked up and also do so much good at the same time, as I feel this prisonart.com company is doing right now. This next picture I want to show you was drawn by a guy by the name of Kevin Rashad Johnson back in 2012. And this picture depicts the United States with a bunch of jail bars on it. You can see people behind these bars. You can see the Monopoly man right there carrying that big old bag of money. And what this picture was actually drawn to represent was the influence of Wall Street and big money on mass incarceration. Now, if you don't know what mass incarceration is, allow me to just try to break this down for you real quick. Mass incarceration relates to the major increase of people being locked up in this country over the last 40 years. In fact, in 1995, I just read this is absolutely mind-fucking blowing to me. But in 1995, I guess this grant came into effect for prisons, offering them a reward if they could increase the number of prisoners being housed at their prisons. And by reward, that reward is obviously money. So prisons are actually getting money if they can house like the most amount of people that they possibly can. It almost sounds like it's some sort of a game. Hey, Warden Billy, I've got 4,000 guys over here locked up. Most of them are nonviolent drug offenders. How many of you got at your prison? Oh shit, Warden Dick Gazer, I only got about 3,500 myself. Warden Billy and Warden Dick Gazer. I don't know, I just made those 2 names up. You know, the next type of art that I want to tell you about in this video that really has a story behind it, that is most certainly Chicano art. And this type of art is huge in prisons out on the West Coast. Chicano art is some of the most detailed, amazing work that I have ever personally seen myself. And this art definitely tells stories. dealing with culture, struggles, lifestyles of these individuals who create this art and also wear this type of art on their body, because Chicano art is huge when it comes to tattoos. And personally, this is actually one of my favorite styles of art. You've got women, you've got cars, you've got money. I mean, this is like some of the most awesome stuff that I've ever seen myself. And if I could actually get my entire body tattooed in this style of art, I probably would, telling my entire life story on my body. I think that would be fucking pretty awesome. And when you look at this type of art, you would imagine that this is mostly just pertaining to tattoos that guys would get tattooed on them. But you know, they do so much other stuff with this as well, whether it is actually creating envelopes or full-size pictures, paintings, airbrush work that's actually on cars or walls. And again, this style is what I consider some of the most amazing art personally that is being created by guys who are locked up. Using this type of artwork to tell their story, whether it deals with the pain, the suffering, the time that is spent in prison, women from their lives, and also family as well. This next piece of prison art that I feel tells a story, I really couldn't find too much information about this picture in particular, but just looking at this picture, I mean, this absolutely tells a story. Here you can see this guy who's laying on this floor inside of this solitary confinement cell. No, nothing inside of this cell. In fact, he's laying on the floor right in front of the window where the only light in the cell is actually coming through that window. And I mean, look at this guy's bunk. There's not a blanket, not a pillow, not even a mattress on this guy's bunk at all. It just looks like a solid piece of steel that he's forced to lay there on. So thinking that laying on the ground probably isn't too much worse than laying on that cold piece of steel. And just the angle from which this piece of work was created, I mean, it's from the top corner of this guy's cell. It almost looks like that could be the camera in his cell that's just watching him. And from this view, I mean, you can see exactly what's going on in here. There's nothing. Loneliness, darkness, depression, just absolute misery inside of a solitary cell that I do not feel could be captured any better than how this piece of art was created right here. Even if you've never experienced prison for yourself or being locked up, you can just look at a picture like this and just imagine what being in a situation like that must really be like. Because I can tell you from experience, it is one of the worst and most miserable, difficult times you could ever possibly experience in your life. The last piece of prison art that I want to tell you about in this video was created by a guy by the name of Jesse Haizlip. And what's interesting about this guy, first and foremost, is the fact that he's never even really been locked up. In fact, I didn't even think he was locked up until I did a little more digging on this guy and found out that he did have a brief stay in county jail for a graffiti charge. And he's also had like numerous run-ins with the police, which in turn is what inspired this guy to create this art exhibit. This guy, Jesse Haizlip, he is a professional artist, and he also created this exhibit called the Mark of Cain. And basically what he created with this exhibit was a bunch of art that basically represents the hardships of what being locked up and then coming home with what he considered was the Mark of Cain, referring to guys who come home who are then labeled as felons, as criminals, and have like just an unbelievably hard time trying to get back out into the free world, adjust back to life out here in society. And even though this guy never really has been locked up, I do truly commend this guy for trying to bring light to what he considered was like the injustices of this country. And it was this picture right here that really spoke volumes to me. Here you can see him standing here. He's dressed in all white. I guess he's trying to look like a prisoner right here in front of this piece that he created of these two skeleton hands that are in handcuffs. I think it's a pretty amazing picture that has a lot of meaning and also symbolism behind it. And add to that the entire exhibit that this guy put on to try to bring attention to the struggles that individuals go through coming home from incarceration and again trying to adjust back into society while being labeled a felon or also a criminal. Hey, look, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did so, please leave a like and a comment letting me know exactly what you thought about it. And as always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world, never take a moment for granted, and make the most of every day. Peace!